In the heart of Iran's northeastern region lies Mashhad, a city of profound spiritual significance and home to nearly 4 million people. Today, it stands at the edge of a devastating water crisis. Reports reveal that water levels in the dams supplying the city have dropped below 3%, a stark indicator of a system nearing collapse. Mashhad's 4 major reservoirs, once lifelines for its residents, are now almost dry. Officials warn that without immediate and strict conservation efforts, the city could soon run out of water entirely. The situation is so dire that Hussein Esma Alen, head of Mashhad's water company, has stated plainly, "Managing water is no longer about public awareness, it's about survival." Currently, Mashhad's water consumption sits at around 8,000 liters per second. Yet, its dams can only supply between 1,000 and 1,500 liters per second. The rest is being pumped from groundwater sources, which are themselves disappearing rapidly. This gap between supply and demand points to a deeper, structural problem, one rooted in decades of unsustainable water extraction, outdated agricultural practices, and systemic mismanagement. Mashhad's crisis is not an isolated one. Across Iran, roughly 19 major dams, about 10% of the country's reservoirs, have effectively run dry. Rainfall has sharply declined, temperatures are rising, and what officials are calling one of the worst droughts in decades is now threatening even the capital, Tehran. Iran's president recently warned that Tehran could face partial evacuation if significant rain doesn't arrive before winter. Of the 5 dams supplying the capital, one is already empty and another holds less than 8% of its capacity. Rolling water cuts loom unless consumption drops immediately. The water crisis is not new. It's the result of years of political neglect, environmental mismanagement, and misplaced priorities. Experts point to overexploitation of groundwater and inefficient irrigation systems, construction of large dams for political prestige rather than practical need, rapid urbanization and population growth straining limited resources, climate change, reducing snowfall in the Zagros Mountains and accelerating desertification. The disappearance of Lake Urmia, once the Middle East's largest saltwater lake, stands as a haunting symbol of Iran's ecological decline. The human impact is already being felt. In Mashhad, many households rely on stored water tanks. Farmers in surrounding areas are watching their crops fail, deepening rural poverty and fueling migration to cities already struggling with overcrowding and infrastructure shortages. Water scarcity has historically sparked unrest in Iran, and recent protests in provinces like Kustan and Isfahan have turned violent. The crisis is not just environmental, it's social, economic, and deeply political. Experts argue that Iran must modernize its agricultural sector, which uses 90% of the country's water, shift away from water-intensive crops like rice and sugarcane, invest in wastewater recycling and desalination plants. But these solutions require funding, technology, and international cooperation, all hampered by sanctions and political isolation. Mashhad's struggle is a microcosm of Iran's broader environmental and governance challenges. As reservoirs empty and cities grow restless, the country faces a critical choice: continue with business as usual, or confront the hard truths of sustainability and accountability. The fear is that once the immediate crisis fades, so too will the urgency for reform. But with the stakes this high, Iran may have no choice but to change. The stability of its society and the survival of its people may depend on it.